Looking forward to, ever since Marty agreed to come and have a wee chat with us today. I'm not going to tell you too much about Marty, apart from we've known him for many years, and he's what we describe in Belfast as a character. We all know what that means. He's also a fantastic conversationalist, a brilliant entrepreneur, and he is one of the leading lights in supporting small business enterprise, and I would say music here in Belfast, and I'm proud to call him a friend of mine, even though we don't see each other as much as I would like to.
Okay.
Now, when I normally prepare thoroughly, as everybody knows, for these things, I don't just turn up with a hat on. I try to have Q&As and everything down, but I ran out of time this week. Michelle's had actually gone away, left me to my own devices, and that's always caused trouble. So rather than prepare proper questions, I'm doing an experiment today. And the experiment is, I went to AI, I asked it to give me 20 questions that I could ask Marty Neill from AirPOS about his upcoming event, which is called BarCamp. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick them randomly and read them. And Marty's going to answer them. He wants to use AI, but that's not the way.
No, I'll not use chat or Gemini or Grok or any of those.
So we're going to give this a go for the next 15 minutes or so. What I would like you guys to do is think of really good questions. Think of really good questions, not just for Marty, but for also, you can ask Marty a question, you can ask me a question, you can ask anybody around the table a question, that's the point. Your question has to be short and snappy. You've got one question, and it's no more than 2 minutes to ask your question. It can't be a monologue. And whoever's answering the question should be a short and snappy answer to it as well. And that's what Marty's going to do now. It's like a quick fire quiz.
That's annoying me, Martin. That's going to ruin our shot.
No, sure, take it out.
Sorry.
We're good looking men, but I'll take the beer away, sure.
No, the beer's fine. At lunchtime for only
See, the thing is,
my word.
Here's a funny thing. I don't drink, and Michelle's away in the Isle of Man, and she's going to see this wee video, and she's going to go, "Whoop." There he goes. What's he doing, by the way? Right, so everyone, we shall start. I think the first question is easiest, Marty.
I'm just impressed AI knows anything about me. This is good.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
No. Surprising. Marty, if you can tell us, who are you and what are you doing?
Oh, Martin, I hate this question. I just do stuff. I run about doing stuff, you know, and yeah, some of those stuff has been a retail system for a software system for retailers that helps them to sell in their shops, to sell online and take payments, and that's AirPOS. That would be my main drag. The OEM Music Centre, which is Ireland's only music centre dedicated to helping young people find their way in music and the business of music. Northern Ireland's first tech accelerator, Start 6, which became Raise Ventures, a support organisation for small startup businesses. Base Arcade, with the world's first pop-up retro arcade, which is going to evolve into the Retro Room, which will be Belfast's first retro arcade, which will be in the Watson building, ex-Frames premises down beside the Belfast Telegraph building, from around October, aiming for a Halloween night, launch night, and all of that. And other things that'll come to me as we talk, but it's all the best version I've ever done of this is on the Best of Belfast podcast. I must have been really awake that day, so go check it out. If you want to know more, that's the best version. I remembered most of it.
Yeah, no, you had a very brilliant interviewer there in Matt Top.
That's good.
Yeah, so good cry, and check out Best of Belfast. It's a fantastic
podcast. Yeah, really.
Tell us about the OES Centre. What is the OES Centre?
The OES Centre is what Jimmy Nesbitt called a big warehouse full of music with a roof. That was Jimmy's intro at the launch night, because Jimmy had been out with Ruby Wax the night before. He fell off the wagon and kept Jimmy up all night. But anyway, it's oh jeez, there's many more. Trust me. It's in Gordon Street, in Cathedral Quarter. It's a big ex-whiskey warehouse that was owned by Billy McBurney, who was the founder of Outlet Records, who was a particularly maverick music entrepreneur in the 1950s and 60s in Northern Ireland. So Billy, the story of Billy was he was bringing the flute bands in one door and the Republican bands out the next, right? So you had a recording studio, and you know, Men Behind the Wire was recorded there, Simply the Best First Italian EVF was recorded there, all this sort of stuff.
It was because you're planning a bar camp, and it potentially is going to be in the OES Centre.
Yeah.
What is a bar camp for anybody who doesn't know?
So now we head on Andy McMillan, right? So in the kind of emerging and nascent tech sector in Northern Ireland, there's this very strange kid running around who calls himself Good on Paper, right? who's a designer at this point, but he's like Andy's the best snob I've ever met, right? He's just so, his standards for everything are so up here, right, that he's hard to like. He'll not mind me saying this. He's hard to like because the standards are so up here, right? But everything he did was up here. So when he was a designer, it had to be up here. And when he started doing networking events, he basically created the concept of BarCamp, right? Which he then very kindly open sourced, right? So everything Andy does, he invites other people to do.
He also set up Established Coffee.
He set up Open Coffee, BarCamp, Established Coffee. I mean, he did the Build conference, which was one of the biggest web conferences in the world, which was in Belfast, which had people come from all over the planet to come here and go to a web design conference that was, again, standards are up here, you know. He did the first ever Belfast co-working space, Core. The list is endless. He did the first ever web design thing called the Manual, which goes on eBay for scandalous money now. That one.
Yeah. I can remember Manual was the very first, what do you call the fundraiser, crowdfunder? Kickstarter.
Yeah.
That was the first time I heard of Kickstarter. Andy came and told me he was doing this thing where, I mean, it's going to be a Kickstarter. He raised over £150,000 for the Manual.
That's crazy. And he's gone on, so he went to Portland. I seen him about this time last year, actually October last year. Went out and seen him. Hadn't seen him in 6-7 years. Hasn't changed a bit. Exactly the same. He has Sucker Punch, which is a non-alcoholic brewery, and Heck, which is a non-alcoholic bar in Portland. In between times, he ran the XOXO festival, which is one of the biggest tech festivals in the US. And basically, it's a genius idea, and I wish to God he would do it over here. Brought together all the crowdfunding companies and put them all in one place.
So what's a BarCamp?
A BarCamp is a bunch of interesting people get together at a bar.
Right.
It's pretty much that.
That's what it was.
Yeah, and then you figure out the agenda on the day.
Right, okay, because the first BarCamp I went to with Andy McMillan was down in the University of Ulster, way back in the midst of time, before the new university and the old university. And it was like breakout rooms and stuff. Right?
Yeah, that would have been the bigger one. So, well, you can do that, but it's effectively an unconference.
Right.
Right. So you get together, you get a bunch of people. It's always in a bar. BarCamp's always in a bar. That's just the policy, right? You get a bunch of people and you vote on agenda on the day. That's it. So someone comes in and says, "I want to do a talk about product development," and everybody goes, "That sounds good. Let's do that."
Oh,
and you go and do that.
Excellent.
And the breakout rooms are kind of organised on the day as well, you know. Now Andy might have put a wee bit more organisation around it. I don't think he did. The Derry one was very the Derry one was a big unconference. That was very big, you know. Which first time I met Lear McKay.
There you go. Yeah.
As well.
Last one passed.
Last one passed indeed. So yeah, there's all sorts of you know, the connections. So Andy, for such a guy who's not particularly social, right?
Yeah,
he brought together hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people of like mind and created companies and created all sorts of things. Marriages, you name it, were created in these rooms. And yeah, you know, so I mean, what's happened since, unfortunately, is when the bigger tech companies started to come in, so when the FDI started to come into Belfast, the foreign direct investments, they started to very smartly hire recruiters out of recruitment companies. So instead of going to a recruitment company and going find me people, they hired the top recruiters out of recruitment companies, which was very smart. Then the recruiters went, well, all these open source events are a great way, and they basically hijacked them and took them all over. That's kind of past. That hasn't really happened in a long time. And I was talking to Andy last year, and I just said, mate, you know what? What's missing in Northern Ireland is you, right? To put these events together again.
You're not making me feel bad here.
No, it's a different different type of thing. You know, it's a different type of thing.
Absolutely.
Because again, Andy's going to go for the 150 grand,
I know.
the 2,000 people, you know, all that sort of stuff.
Right?
So if we don't have Andy, and we're not going to have Andy because he's not an American citizen, he's staying in Portland, I sort of thought, why don't we have a crack at reviving some of these things, just because they were brilliant fun for the main reason, but also because there's a whole new generation of tech entrepreneurs who haven't had the pleasure.
Yeah, and the other thing is they develop stuff. You know, the things that happen in these conversations, and like there's support, as you say, horses for courses. What I did was different. It was on a completely different skills in a completely different way. But the reason we all come together and do these things is the connections that we make and the opportunities come out of it. And every single event, and that's why Marty does it as well. Every single event we do creates opportunities for people to come together, and BarCamp and BizCamp and all those types of things, which used to happen in the past, don't happen so much more, or so much now, are fantastic. And that's why I was delighted when you said that you were thinking about doing it again. You picked the OES Centre.
Mm.
Obviously, you have a relationship with the OES Centre, but what do you think's unique about that will bring something special to a BarCamp? Why the OES Centre rather than someone else?
A couple of things. So the OES Centre needs help, for one. So they're running down on their knees, effectively. Billy McBurney, who we mentioned earlier, is in the great music centre in the sky. So you're now kind of in an unknown place in terms of what the next steps are for OES. The plan is to buy the building.
Yeah.
And basically, as the kind of co-founders, the original board, trying to get everyone together really to put our shoulder to the door and raise the profile of the place. They're quite a way down the road in terms of fundraising towards buying the building, but there's still a big chunk of cash required.
Yeah.
Snow Patrol guys are going to help a lot, of course. They'll do everything they can, they always has, but it's really about getting people in there, using the facility, Marty, because it's underused, to be honest. The kind of bar and cafe area sits there all day, and then you have a lot of events at night, but during the daytime it's underused, and it'd be great just for these types of places, and it's a wonderful venue. It's a great atmosphere.
Can any of us walk in? Like, can Rob and
it's open all day. It's open all day. Go and have a look.
What's in it? Is there like conference facilities, meeting facilities, or is it just coffee?
There is. It's a bit. It wouldn't call itself Grade A, right? Because it's not trying to be that at all. It's meant to be affordable for everyone, really. So there's conference rooms, there's a recording studio, there's a gig venue, and there's a cafe. There's a pop-up arcade every couple of months. There's a roof, which is absolutely the roof is the best venue for a business thing if you've got the weather in the city, in my opinion.
Wow.
It's fantastic. The flat roof is just amazing.
It is open tour or something, an open day or something.
That's good. I'm there most days. That's good.
Very good.
Does it have a
Marty, don't read it.
Oh, sorry.
Hold on. Write your question down. When you're organising, so basically you're organising the BarCamp, you've come up with this idea, you're going to make it happen. What help do you need? So people that are in the room, people that are maybe watching this video back, how can we help you?
Well, where did we stick it out? Was it LinkedIn? We stuck out the idea? I can't even remember.
I haven't seen it on LinkedIn yet. Oh, maybe you did. Was it LinkedIn?
Can't remember. Might have just told somebody about
Both of us are getting old here. Maybe just told someone. Maybe you told me.
It must have been LinkedIn because there was a lot of commentary about it.
Yeah.
So basically just said, look, what about we bring back a BarCamp? And Simon Whittaker from Vertical Structures in touch right away. A whole bunch of people just going, and half of them I'd never met at the BarCamps.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they're going, oh, that really inspired me. So there's a whole kind of group of, let's call us senior entrepreneurs, let's be kind, distinguished entrepreneurs, who
fellas
remember these things, who met at these things, who got inspired by these things.
We're all listening to Oasis and go to BarCamps.
It's a Liam Gallagher t-shirt right there.
That's
It's pretty great.
Very good.
But so really it's about just kind of lumping in with the organisation of the thing, because it's not, they're not a financial. There's no financial driver behind the BarCamp. It's really to bring together the tech community effectively and to do those things again. And I'm doing the Raise Accelerator. We've 32 companies in the Raise portfolio alone, and I'm very conscious of the fact that people don't meet each other anymore on the same frequency. Everyone's working from home. It just doesn't happen in the same way. So it's really, for me, so David Holmes told me once, right, that he makes albums that he wants to listen to and he does events that he wants to go to, and I never forgot it. And I'm like, right, I want to go to a BarCamp. Can I do a BarCamp? Who will I talk to? Marty Gilchrist. Martin Neill. Right, okay, let's get a BarCamp together. And you just wing it, as you know, Martin. You just wing it.
Yeah, it's the only way to get stuff done at our level, isn't it? You just have to stick your neck out there and ask people, and hopefully somebody will turn up.
Yeah, you get a venue, and always people show up.
So, who would be your dream list in the real world of notable speakers or participants that might turn up at this thing? Who do you hope will be there?
I'd love to see the old crew, so your Chris McClellans. I'd love Andy McMillan to be there. Will happen. Maybe he'll come home for a visit. Who knows, right? Lee Monroe, who's done amazing things over in the States and has come home. Yeah. The list is too long. Ian Brown, the guys from Normal Baths, the guys from Raise Ventures, Michael, Eva Jane, all these guys.
That would be like one of the bringing together start. You know, like all the classics of the Man United or whatever it is, bringing all together as one team. And
Yeah,
for one night.
and then you've guys like Danny at Options Technology, Danny Moore, Stevie Morrow, all these types of guys. And I guess if it was my perfect world, it would be a generational BarCamp where you had people who had been there, done it a bit, and then you've got all the kids who were us when we were doing this 20 years ago.
And I think those events are always the best when you've got a whole range of people from a whole range of ages and backgrounds. Sometimes you find that there's a special quality to those type of things. Well, I could talk to you all day about this. You've got so many great stories. You know so many people. You're like the black book of everything.
I don't know about that, Marty.
You definitely are.
Well, I just run about and do stuff, mate.
But
that's what happens.
Well, last one more
people
question.
pay me. Like, all right.
How do people get involved? How do they contribute? What can people bring to the table for you?
We got a WhatsApp group, and again, this is a loose. The whole thing's very loose. We don't even have a date. Should we just decide a date right now?
Yes, pick a date.
Let's make it a Friday. Fridays work better, don't they?
Yeah. Does anybody got a diary in front of them? No.
Mine's on my phone.
This is.
Yeah, let's pick a date.
Is it going to be part of the Tech Week?
It could be part of Belfast Tech Week. I've been talking to Simon about that. So yeah, we could do it during Tech Week for sure.
So it's end of September, early October.
Yeah, perfect.
So if we would first week in October.
Yeah, perfect.
And you like a Friday. So it's the first.
I think a Friday's good for a BarCamp.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
So we're talking the first Friday in October.
4th.
Yep, 4th of October.
Okay, let me see if I can.
There you go, folks. You've heard it here. Yeah. Marty's committed.
D from yeah, we'll talk. Yeah, but so yeah, there you go. Friday the 4th of October. Let's do it.
In the OES Centre, because that's all you need for an event: a date and a venue.
Absolutely, 100%.
And everything else, you can send out invites and people either come or they go. And, it sounds absolutely.
Well, I'm
fantastic.
trusting you. Your social media reach here,
Sometimes
I run off and do the next thing, whatever the next thing is now, So.
Yeah, I feel like I've been roped into something here, but anyway. Marty, thank you very much. I really enjoyed talking to you. I really enjoyed
So
getting
BarCamp, 4th of October, OEM Music Centre. See you there.
Cool. Okay. I hope you all enjoyed Marty's presentation. What I'll do now is give everybody an opportunity to ask questions. So remember, I will ask you to ask a question, because everybody has to ask a question, and then to keep short and sweet. You can direct it to Marty, to me, or to anyone else in the room, but the question's directed at me, essentially. So don't have a private conversation while we're all watching, essentially what we're doing. Questions will last for how long it takes all last question, and then it's open format. You can do you can leave, you can eat chocolate cookies, you can do whatever else. So, Q&A. First question goes to Rob.
I guess. Well, I can remember the sort of original biz camps, and it does seem like it's been a bit of a black hole for a long time since that. So I used to live in Edinburgh, and then I kind of moved back to Belfast. This was kind of my first experience of being back in Belfast after 15 years, and it did seem like Belfast was quite a lot different to how I remember it before that. And it would be great to have something like that coming back again, because there has been, like I said, there's been a void for a long time, and it'd be good to sort of have something like that. If I could support that, then it would be, I don't really have a direct question, it's more of it's quite an exciting kind of opportunity, I think.
Well, if I can answer, I suppose, or reply to that, I suppose it's a question to you, Rob. How could you help it? What would you do? What can you do to support it? What would you like to do?
I don't quite know, because I only found out about this whenever you mentioned it last week.
So have a wee think.
We'll get you in the WhatsApp. Everything's going to become a WhatsApp group, I would think. I think for me, the spirit with which these things were done was very important, and Andy was the kind of standard bearer for that spirit. So, I know that he had big sponsors come and go, we want to sponsor this, and they didn't fit, and he said no. I'm well aware of that. He could have turned this into a very, very lucrative business for himself. He kept it community focused, kept it kind of, clean as such. Do you know what I mean? So that when you went along, you understood that you were going along to talk to other entrepreneurs, to help. It really is in the spirit of paying it forward. What happened with the recruiters, like I stopped my staff going to them because I knew fine rightly, and it was actually not good, because it cost me as an employer, because my staff weren't going and finding out interesting things and going to Belfast JS and all that sort of stuff, you know, because I knew fine rightly that as the minute their name was on a recruitment list, it was just a barrage, absolute barrage from recruiters. So, you know, that was pretty horrible that happened. And yeah, time to turn it back the other way, I think. You know, so no recruiters is honestly, that has to be part of the spirit.
I guess just one question would be the reason for Friday, so that you're not going to get many. What sort of people do you want to turn up to this event? Because if it's if it's more entrepreneurial people who can sort of say, I'm taking Friday off to go to this event, you're going to get those. But if you're looking for people who are in the industry,
See, the thing is, you make a good point, Rob. It's always going to be hard to please everybody. So what actually happens is the person who's fundamental to it has to make the decision that suits them. And if it suits other people, it suits them. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Because the flavour of it's going to be Marty Neill flavour. You know, and that's. But I get what you're saying. It's very difficult.
I think the biggest one put in on Saturdays.
Yeah, Saturdays are good for some, and they're not so good for family people.
I kind of found Saturdays. Yeah, they didn't really work for this type of thing. You know, if it was more organised, like if you had a 6 months run, for sure. But for that kind of flash event, because it's really it's a business event. You know, it really is like. And Saturdays, yeah.
So you're looking for the executive people to sort of turn up and make sort of executive decisions rather than the employees to turn up to say, I can learn something new.
Well, I mean, you know, if it was still BarCamp, BizCamp, you know, all those types of things, I would never have objected to my employees going to them. You know, in fact, I would have encouraged it. You know, but when it turned into a recruitment fair, everybody, you know, everyone that understood the spirit of those events got together and went, we're not sending our employees anymore, you know, because it was just the big American companies running it and then going, okay, we'll just double your salary. I mean, my guys are walking in the door and they're going, we'll just double your salary. They barely know their second name.
Right, let's give everybody a chance to ask questions. So, Martin, do you have a question?
Yeah, no, well, I was just thinking, I mean, in my experience from running events the last few while, no day suits. I've had every excuse for people not to go. I think that you need a hook to really draw them in where they actually, and I know this from running a ghost walk last week, another little thing I do on the side, and cutting 40 people on the tour, and I could have turned away all 40 people because they all wanted to be on it. Whereas when we're running these business events, oh, listen, Marty, I've got a bit of a sniffle. I think I might be the COVID. Oh, I have to collect the kids. Oh, that. I've had every excuse this week for reasons why they can't go. And in my experience, when you accommodate the ones that maybe a Saturday might suit them, maybe they're the ones that definitely won't go. After you going out of your way to accommodate that group, you can be sure the first ones.
Totally agree.
My sort of feeling about BarCamp, what may make BarCamp work, and it's something that I had to do with the Growth Network as well. It's going down that membership route. You mentioned community there. Community breeds loyalty. When you have got membership there, people then are part of the community. You've given them ownership of that. They're going to support it. Whereas if you're relying on walk-ins, you're going to get that sort of, oh, it doesn't suit me, or if you're getting people to pay for it or that kind of thing. It's you know, I think membership would be the way to go about it. That would be my sort of feeling. The question, I do have a little question there. Does the OES Centre is it a place where young people can hang out during the day? Like in a social thing where you walk in, there's a bit of vibrancy about it, there's young people hanging about it, because then that really gets that buy-in, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, one of the proudest moments for me in the last few years was I'd been not very engaged with OEF for a long time because, you know, you find or you hang around for a couple of years and then off you go and get out of the way, right? That's really what you should do. But I went round one night, so when we were kind of, business was changing, a lot of people were working from home, and I was kind of going, so we're leaving our big office and kind of going, well, where do I want to go? I didn't want to work from home. I know that's not for me. That like 6 days of it was enough for me. Yeah, well, not even that. It's like the fun of it is community, right? That's the fun. And you don't get any of that fun. You know, I'm good crack, but I'm not good crack on the top. You know? So I sort of thought, well, what can I do? And then we had the base arcade, the pop-up arcade, and then a room came up. And it was great, okay, we'll take a wee small office in the OES. So for me, it was like going home. nearly 20 years later, because that was the first AirPOS office was in OEM, and now we've come full circle to the new AirPOS office. But yeah, so I came in and there was just kids everywhere, playing music in the rehearsal rooms, in the recording studio, trying to get the arcade machine switched on, you know, hanging around the venue, all this sort of stuff. And I remember just walking around Makiva going, wow,
That's
I mean,
brilliant,
this
yeah.
is what we tried to do, and here it is. And she went, did you not know this goes on all the time? I'm like,
That's great.
but I'm
It's
very
a safe
glad to know.
space for them.
It certainly is. It certainly is. Yes,
Amanda?
absolutely. And it's for them, Martin. It's not just a safe space for them. It is for them.
Yeah, it is
It's
for them,
theirs.
yeah.
It's theirs, not ours.
My question is in relation to what's available for young people. So I have teenage boys that are interested in digital music, like massively. So designing games, coding, all of that sort of stuff, but the music that goes with said coded games and all of those
Fantastic.
kind of things.
Yeah.
Do you put on classes and stuff
Well,
to
so-
help that kind of thing develop?
So you understand where my role in OEA. I'm a tenant and a previous founder, right? Previous co-founder. I know they have volume control. I'll put you in touch with Keith. Keith will tell you everything.
Right.
All the guys down there. But there's so many programs. Yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
absolutely 100%. That's
Because they
good
don't
space
get
for it.
that in school. They get
No.
the coding stuff, and
Yeah,
but they don't
exactly.
get the whole picture stuff.
Well,
So
that was one of the reasons
Yeah.
for OEA to exist was, you know,
Brilliant.
you get taught to play the triangle in
I
school.
had no
right?
idea it existed, so it's great.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I could play a Metallica song and somebody was handing me a triangle. It's like, what? Sorry, could you give me a guitar, do you think?
No, Martin, we know who you are. Carlos.
Oh, I don't even have a question prepared. Let me see.
Thoughts, comments?
Thoughts, comments. So your networking. The thing that I find with a lot of networking events is they're not so much networking events, more like personal sales event. Everybody turns up
Yeah.
to sell themselves, and after the pitch comes, there's nothing. You
From
know,
board, I believe.
and everybody is just
I personally really don't like those types
Yeah.
of events. I find them
I-
strange.
I find them strange,
You know?
but the vast majority of networking events that I go to, that I've ever been to,
Yeah.
have not been networking events. They're, I do this, my name is XYZ,
Yeah.
and then once that is said,
On you go.
you
Well,
know, on you go.
Okay, so interestingly, right, and as we kind of said, BarCamp is an unformed conference. What would you like to do at BarCamp? Because you're free to do it.
Okay.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So if you want to do something with product development, for example, it's a perfect environment to do it. And it'll probably be a room full of founders. You know,
Sounds
there'll
good.
certainly be a few who are probably very interested in what you would have to say and do. You know,
Yeah.
you know, so we've just scratched the date,
Yeah.
pending agreeing to give me the building that day. You scratch out the event as well. You say, well, what would you want to do? You know, if you want to do something in product
Yeah.
development, you're more than welcome.
See, the thing is, and that's a really good point, Marty's not magic, you know, and he doesn't have any special power that the rest of us don't have. You know, it'll only work if people step up and follow him, or help him, or support him, or engage with him, or
Yeah.
inspire him and motivate him and all the rest. If he stands by himself, it'll be an empty building.
Do you know, importantly, like when Andy was running these things, you wouldn't have knew who Andy was. They weren't his. They were the communities. And then when Matt Johnson, you know, Digital Circle came along, and Digital Circle really supported these and kind of had some money, effectively had some funding that didn't require sponsorship from big companies or recruiters or anything like that, then they could go to the next level. You know, but it's not my event. It's a community event. That's the idea, and the community should build it. And that's the notion behind BarCamp, BizCamp, all that type of stuff.
Hillary.
It's open source. You know?
That was just clarifying one of my questions actually, because I did want clarification on content. So you are open to people coming along and saying, well, I really want to put this forward because this is maybe an idea I have, or is this something that I would like to put out there for the community to be able to take part in, that type of thing. Just to clarify. And the other thing is that the overall objective then and the desired outcome is really other people telling you what they want from it?
No.
Or
So I think you get the venue. We're called it BarCamp because we've had BarCamps in the past. We've decided to call it BarCamp, right? Then from there, I mean, we could do it on LinkedIn, for example. We could say, okay, here's one of the ideas for the BarCamp. People are going to do this, and you might set a attendee limit. And you say, okay, if we get 20 people saying they want to come to this talk, we'll do it. If we don't get 20 people saying we're going to come to this talk, we won't do it.
Very good. Yeah.
You know, simple as that. And you could all just come and do a networking event in the bar. If there's no talks, fine, it's still a BarCamp. You know, so it would be more open than that.
And the other thing is as well, you know, people were talking about, oh, this date maybe wasn't suit somebody, or Saturdays or whatever. It's, you know, it's like build it and they'll come. If people are interested enough, they'll find a way to get there if they can.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what's your expectation as well? You know, if you were running a commercial event here and you were trying to get 150 people, you might do a lot of thinking about, you know, when would be the best time to run in park and all that sort of stuff. If you're saying you're happy that, you know, 100 people show up, would be result, right? 50 people show up, it's still going to be a decent conference, you know. And look, you're starting this thing again after a long time.
Yeah. Sometimes it take a while to build.
You know,
Yes.
exactly.
It's a bit like today. I'm thinking about why you came down into the hassle of Belfast City Centre to sit in a boardroom.
Yep.
It's just made up. You know, it's just, I had an idea that I wanted to meet my friends and credible business people and have interesting conversations and share what Marty was doing. None of you had to come. You all had to make the decision to invest time in this today. And
can I just say, I've missed an art class.
well,
But
thank
do you
very
know
much.
what's
I'm really
really,
flattered.
what's really interesting, just listening to everybody's intros, and I went, we needed your service from the Accelerator. We were looking for it. We had the fly guy in from England to do it.
Oh,
Right.
The private health guy, we've just cancelled with Westfield Health because they quadrupled their plan price. You know, all these things. I'm sitting going, I know someone who needs all these things for sure. Right now, I'm actually sitting when you're doing the intros, going in my head, yep, that person, yep, that person, yep. You know, so that sort of stuff. You know, we're all a bit older, a bit longer in the tooth. We know more people, have been around a long time, all that sort of stuff. But if you're a kid coming into these environments, you know, and you're able to talk to someone about mental health, for example, that's a hard conversation to get. Really hard conversation to get. And if you can talk to someone, like mental health would be a big focus. I know Danny Moore, hopefully he doesn't mind me saying, but he knows me, I just say stuff. Apologise later. Danny Moore from Options Tech has been on me for a while about, you know, how do we better support mental health, the entrepreneurial ecosystem, for example. There's a perfect opportunity to do so.
2/3 of employees don't feel comfortable speaking to their manager about their mental health. Never mind if they're suffering within the workplace with stress points or other issues going on, or they've got something happening at home and they say, oh, leave that at home, don't bring it to work. But if you're going through a significant life event, you can't leave it at the door.
No.
So it's having those open conversations that managers are on tip-top information points of what's going on with their employees and get to know, you know, because you have in big organisations, it's not just the managing director that needs to know everybody. Managing director
Middle management.
is, he's responsible for his managers. His managers are accountable for what is going on with their sub-managers and their line managers.
And that
So
is a
therefore,
subject that could be used in BarCamp.
For
It
sure,
could be
I mean-
anything at all. And Marty's networking and
It opens a
relationships
can of
and
worms.
engineering and all that.
And how the relationships
Well, you
affect
know,
the children that
deal-
are going.
Dealing with
Yeah.
like young entrepreneurs is a challenge, right? And your own attitudes and your own kind of background and your own approach to life and all that becomes really challenged because they're looking at you, like this was particularly true in the Accelerator at times with their founders in the Accelerator looking at us for guidance, right? And you know, I find myself saying things like, when you embark on this type of journey, when you're trying to start a software business and you're going to be a founder of a software business, you must expect this to affect your mental health. It's naive to think it won't.
It's
Right.
any startup. It's not just tech. It's any
But
startup.
a lot of people would say that that's a very bad thing to say, and I'm going, well, I'm going to tell you, the train's coming, right?
Yeah.
It's coming, right? You better tell them because they're standing on the tracks, right? And a lot of people are like, oh God, no, that's really off-putting. yeah, if you're not up for that, don't do this.
Yeah, it's not the right
Don't
thing.
do this to yourself
Don't jump.
and your family and everybody else. So,
Yeah.
you know, I do think there's a big conversation around mental health support,
Very good.
you know, all that really, but also the reality.
Mhm.
Also the reality of starting a business. And you're right, it's not just tech businesses. And I guess I'm stuck in tech because I see people trying to do hyper growth.
Yeah.
You know, and hyper growth is hyper stress, right? You know, so you're kind of like, right, yeah, okay.
I've literally seen, I've gone into meetings with clients, and they've sat down and before they've said a word, burst into tears.
Yeah.
And it's not because of anything we've done.
Yeah.
It's just the stress, and just to
Yeah.
have a friendly face, someone that they can, you know, tell, because they can't tell their family. They
Oh,
don't tell
well, you
their
can tell your family, but they don't get it, Martin,
Yeah.
unless they're
Yeah.
in it themselves. Like my wife's recently self-employed, last few years, you know, and it's not that she's not understanding. She's the most understanding person I've ever met on the earth.
Mhm.
But when we went on holiday in the first few days, your head's in your top pocket,
Yeah.
right? You know, that happens every time without fail. It doesn't anymore because I became aware of it. I was a bloody nightmare for the first 3 days on holiday. Because as far as I'm concerned, Babylon's burning while I'm not there, right?
Yeah.
She gets it now. She understands. You know, it's like, and that just that level of understanding, and that, you know, I am concerned about the work from home culture to some degree.
Oh, yeah, it's
that
changed.
concerns me, because if I think that how the hell was I doing funding rounds if I was on my own all the time and I had no one around me going, yeah, we're doing okay here.
Yeah.
You know, because it was hard enough when you had a board of directors, when you had a bunch of employees, when you had advisors, mentors. It was still really, really bloody hard.
Yeah.
And if I think back to the middle of the pandemic,
How
for
we did
example,
it, yeah,
wow,
yeah.
Jesus, not right? And I don't know if that culture. I understand people want a better work-life balance. People, you know, want to have a better agency in their lives. I get all that. I absolutely get all that. You know, I had a kid at 16, for God's sake. I know everything about trying to build a career while having a kid. And her mother died as well, so there's all sorts of stuff. But at the same time, you're kind of going, right, okay, guys, so you're saying you want to work from home full time. That means you don't know anyone. That means you won't be me at nearly 50 with a huge network of people that you know you can turn to.
And you can't build anything by yourself. You need,
Yeah.
you need people around. Right. Unfortunately, we'll have to draw this to a close at some point. We could sit here all day and talk to them, drink beer.
Well, I just want to mention one other person, which
Okay.
is Dr. Gary McCausland, who unfortunately just died,
So,
who was instrumental in the careers of so many young entrepreneurs through a thing called Dream Ireland that he set up. It was in the Black Box, where the Black Box is now. And I was telling Marty the story of me and Richard Dale and all sorts of guys who are now employers, entrepreneurs, software entrepreneurs in particular, going into this place with wee ideas for software. I'm probably 20, you know, I have no qualifications, I've never run a business, don't know anything, but I had an idea for a music-based system called Promo System that would have helped young bands to be seen in radio and press, because I had a little bit of press experience. And Gary took me to the Duke of York, bought me 2 pints, made me tell me his idea. I got as far as I worked for a record label, and he went, I'm in. And he downed me around the corner and wrote me a check for $8.5 grand.
The good old days.
You know, and
Good
said,
old
said
days.
come back in
I
6
know.
weeks. Come back in 6 weeks. So
And on that note, Marty,
on that note,
Thank
for,
you very
for
much.
Gary, we run a bar camp. We try to do the same.
good stuff.
thank you.
You are all released. The formal proceedings are over. Take the room. Take the people in the room and do what you want. Marty, thank you very much. I
Thank
really
you very
appreciate
much,
it.
Morgan.
No worries, Jeff.
Go on to LinkedIn and check out Marty Neill's work. Gary, I think they were